Welcome to the Sideline Report, everyone. I'm Marvin Jackson, and pinch hitting for Donna Hopkins, we have Michael Richman, and Michael is the author of the Redskins Encyclopedia. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Well, thank you for having me, Marvin.
All right, so the Redskins get the big victory over Chicago and stay in that playoff hunt, huh?
Well, it was a huge win for a number of reasons. Obviously, one being in the statistical column, but also it was a huge psychological victory for the Redskins, given everything that's taken place in recent weeks. Yes,
the aftermath of the passing of Sean Taylor. And the Redskins, you know, it seemed like that first game back, playing on Sunday, that was tough for the Redskins. But Joe Gibbs was saying that maybe in this game against the Bears, the Redskins were a little loose, a little looser. They were a little more relaxed. They could even smile. And maybe that made the difference, huh?
I'm sure that made a big difference. And I think the Redskins actually surprised a lot of people last night. People were thinking that because they had only one real day of practice, first they went to the funeral on Monday, and then one real day of practice on Tuesday, and then a little bit of a walkthrough on Wednesday. There wasn't much preparation prior to this game, but they surprised quite a few people in beating the Bears.
Right. Now, something big happened in that game, and that's Jason Campbell getting injured. But it seems like right after that, we had a big play by Shawn Springs that kind of turned the game around, huh?
Right. Well, he had an interception late in the first half and a nice return. And on the ensuing play, Todd Collins, who was in for Jason Campbell, threw a nice touchdown pass to Todd Yoder.
All right. And we need to talk a little more about this Todd Collins guy, huh?
Well, he's a veteran in the league, been around for more than a decade, and one of the great things about him is he really knows Al Saunders' system. He played for Saunders for 5 seasons in Kansas City, and that's probably the primary reason that the Redskins acquired him prior to the 2006 year.
Yeah, and of course, I talked to Saunders after the game, and Al Saunders told me that he actually did change the offense a little bit once he put Todd Collins in the game because he can handle it a little more. He was a little more experienced at handling that offense. So look to see a little more offense and them taking a little more chances on offense in the future because Todd Collins will be starting against the Giants.
Well, it definitely was noticeable that the offense was more wide open with Collins in there. They were just taking more chances with him. And again, I think that goes back to the fact that he knows Saunders' system and he knows that, quote, 700-page playbook.
Yeah.
And they just felt that Collins, being a veteran quarterback, that he could make those plays.
All right, now, Mike, this game started out with several missed field goals early, and it looked like we weren't going to have any highlights.
No, it looked like an exercise in offensive ineptitude on the part of both teams. And then the Redskins did get a break late in the first half when Springs intercepted Greasy. And I had actually said just prior to that the Redskins defense is going to have to win the game for them because this was after Campbell went out. They just needed a big break.
Yeah, and of course, the second half, the Redskins opened it up a little more with Collins, and we got the Sellers TD that made it 14-0. And then it looked like Chicago wanted to come back a little bit, huh?
Well, they were making a run, and a lot of us was saying this looks like a replay.
Same old thing.
The same old Redskins. Looks like they were going to relinquish another lead. But that late drive led by Collins, the Redskins took a number of chances that they haven't taken in other drives this year. Case in point, the drive late in the Buffalo game when they ran Porter's 3 straight times and gave the ball back to the Bills, who came down and kicked the winning field goal. In this case, Collins threw 4 nice medium-range passes, the last being his 16-yard touchdown pass to Betts, which was more a little dump-off over the middle that Betts took in for the touchdown.
All right. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Sean Taylor's passing and how it had a big impact on this whole Washington, D.C. area. You were telling me, though, that there was an incident back in the late 60s with Vince Lombardi's passing. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that, because a lot of our viewers may not be aware of that.
Well, in terms of the greatest tragedies in Redskins history, I would have to compare the murder of Sean Taylor with the passing of Vince Lombardi in September of 1970. Now, the major difference is that Lombardi's health was failing, and he was hospitalized, and everybody knew it was inevitable that he was going to pass away. So it wasn't as much of a shock when he died in the first week in September of that year, and then the Redskins went into the season. They were still emotionally distraught and finished 6-8 that year after a 7-5-2 season in 1969 under Lombardi, and everybody was so optimistic heading into the next season, but then Lombardi passed away. In this case, Taylor was gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So it was a much greater shock.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. And just the players have just been exhausted over the last week and a half, and it just seemed like this game, winning this game, was just a relief for them.
Well, I think it was a huge emotional win. A number of the players said so in the locker room after the game, that this one was just a relief for them. It was not only a win in the statistical column, but it was a huge psychological victory for them to get over this hump. Also, given the fact that they had lost 4 straight games. As Casey Robach told me afterward, it's been a whirlwind series of events for the Redskins.
Well, you know, we got a lot of comments from some of the players and fans about Sean Taylor. And here's our Sideline Report tribute to Sean Taylor.
It's really a tragedy. I think that that it's a total tragedy that a player like Sean Taylor has to leave this earth just like that, as he was just reaching his peak.
He had such an impact with the team, and he was a great person turning his life around.
When I first found out, I didn't know it was real. I kind of figured like it's a joke. And then when I kind of figured it out, it's kind of like, felt like I lost a family member or something.
He was a big, big person for Redskin fans. I've been a fan my whole life, and it was a crushing blow to all of us. And he's here in spirit today, and he always will be.
I come from the old country from across the lake, and I've been here since 1981, and I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional. I've been a Redskins fan since day one, and it's a big loss. You know, I know it's tough. It's tough to take, especially for the family, for the kid, and you know, for the fan. He was a great player, and he's gonna be our guardian angel.
In 2005, I flew down by myself to the Redskins game against Tampa Bay. And I sat 5 rows up on the Tampa Bay on the Redskins sideline, because when I go to away games, I like to sit on the Redskins side. So I'm just going to my seat, and I see this gentleman, older man. He said, "So you're a Sean Taylor fan, huh?" I said, "Yes, that's my favorite player. He's ferocious." He said, "That's my son." I said, "Get out of here," because Mr. Pedro Taylor didn't resemble him. I didn't think that was his son. So he turned around and showed me the back, and it said, "Number 21, to Dad with love." And it was so funny because we were talking the whole time. His little brother and little sister were sitting beside him. And this man, we were just talking. I told him how I was from this area. And also, it was so funny because Pedro thought he was a coach from the sideline. He was calling Sean Taylor, and Sean Taylor would just look back and put up a fist every time. And going into halftime, he would talk to Portis like, "Portis, you need to do this, you need to do that." So he thought he was the coach from the sideline. The man was very humble. His family, they were very nice. And I saw Pedro here again on the first home game. I didn't get a chance to speak to him, but my brief experience at the Tampa Bay game 2005, the man loved his son. He loved to watch football. Sean Taylor, that's my favorite player. This jersey, I did not buy this jersey because of the event. I've had this jersey since his number was changed. That's my favorite player. Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. God bless your family. Rest in peace.
continue to remember how special he was to us and to thank God for what we did have rather than being mad for what we didn't have. And we got 3.5 years with this young man. San Francisco didn't get that. Chicago didn't get that. Miami didn't get that. We got that. And that's one of the greatest gifts we could have ever gotten. He was special.
It doesn't seem right, doesn't seem fair, you know, that we're out there playing football and Shawn is gone. You know, just it's like, man, it just doesn't. You know, you just.
It hurt my heart because I was actually looking forward to seeing him play in person. You know, to see him play with the gloves off, he got a lot of range. He did a lot of great things. I liked him since he was at Miami, and you know, it's tough to see that happen. But God be with his family, the Taylor family, and the Redskins, and I hope that, you know, we don't lose anyone else to a tragedy like that.
That man changed his life. That man changed his mentality. He changed his attitude.
I've never seen around anybody that played the game with as much passion as he played with. He literally played like it was his last time ever game.
It was emotional. Before the game, I was crying. You know, I couldn't picture, you know, Shawn being gone. And, you know, I always come in the locker room, you know, at practice, and I'm picturing, you know, all right, where's Shawn at?
Shawn, thanks for all you meant to us, and God take care of Shawn until we get there with him.
I just kind of wished and dreamed and hoped, and you know, maybe one day I'd get a chance. And fortunately, God willingly, I was able to get that chance here with the Redskins.
I usually looked over at Shawn and before the game, and we would say something or give reminders to each other or whatever, and my locker is right beside his locker, so that was a reminder this morning. That was a real sad time, really sad time this morning. And I was tough.
All right, a very tragic story, what has happened to Shawn Taylor, as evidenced by the comments from the fans and the players. But it's just been a very difficult year for the Washington Redskins, huh?
It's been an extremely tragic year for the Redskins. In the offseason, two relatively young ex-Redskins passed away. Justin Skaggs, a receiver who played under Marty Schottenheimer in 2001, he passed away, as well as Kevin Mitchell, a linebacker who played on the Redskins several years ago, and he was 36 when he died. And now we have the death of Shawn Taylor. So just across the board, it's been very tough to swallow.
And we were mentioning earlier, even on the field, you know, with the just tough losses that we've had in the fourth quarter all season.
Well, I think that it's unfortunately fits in with everything else that's been going on this year, right? The disheartening losses and the despair that's noticeable among the players and the fans. It's just seems to be across the board.
Yeah. All right, welcome back to the Sideline Report, everyone. Marvin Jackson here with Mike Richman. And Mike, let's talk about the players of the game for the Redskins-Chicago game. on the offense and defense. Let's start with defense.
Well, I would have to give my player of the game to Shawn Springs.
Yeah, turn the game around. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Redskins needed a break, and he produced it with that interception and then the long return.
Yeah. All right, I agree with you there. How about on offense?
Oh, that has to go to Todd Collins.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
15 of 20, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, and get this, a 144.5 quarterback rating.
Wow.
For a man who nobody knows when he's thrown his last regular season pass.
Yeah. And you said that you were in there talking to Todd Collins, and he was talking about how they were really wanting to finish that last drive, right?
Right. Well, he said that, we wanted to finish it and not kick a field goal so it wouldn't come down to one of those, quote, harrowing losses like we've experienced in recent weeks.
Yeah.
And that's understandable. And that's what a lot of us have been saying. You've got to take some chances in those situations and put the dagger in the opponent.
Yeah.
And that's what the Redskins really haven't been doing in recent weeks.
Right. So it looks like we may have a new look offense a little bit, because Al Saunders said he changed the offense a little bit when Todd Collins went in there. So we may have a new look as the Redskins go towards this playoff drive, huh?
Well, I think Saunders, like you said, has that confidence in Collins, and I think that's a really good sign. I think the more the Redskins mix it up on offense and are not so predictable like they've been at times in primarily running the ball or throwing short out patterns that the defense is overplaying on, I think the less predictable they are, the better they are.
All right. Now let's talk about some of the teams that the Redskins are going to have to outplay over the next few weeks. Redskins really need to win out, don't they?
I would say that is their best bet for making the playoffs.
9-7. Huh?
9-7. They should have a pretty good shot at getting in. They're just bunched in with a lot of other mediocre teams now in the NFC. But they control their own fate for the most part.
Who are some of those other teams?
Well, we've got Detroit, Minnesota, and Arizona, all of which are 6-6.
Of course, we've beaten Detroit and Arizona, though.
Right.
So,
we would win a head-to-head matchup with them. And the Eagles, Panthers, and Saints are all 5-7. And we've already split with the Eagles. So.
All right.
And we played the Vikings.
All right. But we have a pretty tough schedule, though, right? Because, yeah, we got to play New York up there, and then we played Minnesota in Minnesota, and then Dallas back here, of course.
Right. Well, we have a 10-day break, and then we go up to the Meadowlands and play the Giants, and it's never easy for the Redskins to play the Giants on the road.
Right.
That's not a given in any way. But there are ways the Redskins can win that game. Put a lot of pressure on Eli Manning.
Yeah.
He gets rattled easily, and he's been erratic in recent weeks. So if we could pressure him, if we could establish a running game, our running game was anemic against the Bears. I believe we had only a couple of dozen yards. We need to get that running game going, and Collins needs to continue on the pace.
All right.
That he showed against the Bears.
All right, so we'll take it one game at a time, right?
One game at a time.
All right. And Mike, I'd like to just say thanks for joining us on the show today. And why don't you talk a little bit about your book? I have it right here, copy of it, Redskins Encyclopedia.
Well, the Redskins Encyclopedia is a comprehensive history book on the Washington Redskins, 432 pages in all. There are season summaries of all of the Redskins years from 1932 through 2006, 75 seasons, and it's meant to coincide with the Redskins' 75th anniversary. It was just released. There are about 200 photos in the book, and their player profiles, and I profile some of the coaches, some of the greatest coaches in Redskins history, and also a few of the owners, and there are a lot of statistics. It's a bonanza for a Redskins trivia buff.
All right. And how can people get more information about getting the book?
Just go onto my website, redskinshistorian.com.
All right. And this man is the Redskins historian. He knows everything there is about the Redskins. So for the Sideline Report, I'm Marvin Jackson for Michael Richman. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.